Welcome, everyone, to the Firing the Man podcast. On today's episode, we are joined by Carrie Miller, a senior brand evangelist from Helium10 and a Walmart.com expert. Carrie has been in the e-commerce industry since 2016 and has worked at both of the e-commerce software Goliaths, Jungle Scout and Helium10. We are very excited to have her as a guest on the show. Welcome, Carrie.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you guys today.
Absolutely. So first things first, tell us a little bit about yourself and your story and background.
Okay, so I actually kind of got into this whole thing by accident, which is kind of a cool story. But my dad actually took over a skateboard company in 2015. He was approached by our neighbor who said, I need help. My son was running this. He kind of ran it into the ground. So there were a lot of things that needed fixing and kind of needed a revival, I guess you could say. I was actually working at a miserable job, and I think a lot of people probably can relate to that. I was doing this sales job that was awful, and I was in a cubicle, and they wouldn't let us even leave our desk. They would even try to incentivize us by buying us lunch so that we wouldn't leave our cubicle. And so I was just absolutely miserable. And then I quit that job and had this kind of opportunity to take a look at how to help with this business. And they were actually only selling about $200 a month on Amazon. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I could help, increase that. That's ridiculous. It's like 2 skateboards, if that. And so I started learning all about it. They were actually selling on Vendor Central. So I went on YouTube and I learned all about how to sell on Amazon and just, the difference between Vendor Central and Seller Central. So I moved all the listings over to Seller Central and started getting some more profitability. We started getting more sales. And so I did pretty well just optimizing listings, and then decided, well, I'm pretty good at this and I'm going to go ahead and become a freelancer. So I actually joined FreeUp and was a freelancer for about 2 years. And it was funny because they asked me in an interview, are you an expert? And I was like, yeah, I had been doing it for like a few months, so I figured I was with all the info that I had learned. They did do some tests, for me so I did pass all the the tests of questions they had in terms of experts. So I did consider myself an expert at that point because I had done so much research. I did freelancing for a few years. And I actually continued even just after that and also just been working on my business and work at Helium10 as a brand evangelist now, focusing on Walmart. So that's kind of a small snapshot of what we do. We also sell apparel now. So we've expanded out to apparel and a few other types of products. So yeah.
Awesome. So Carrie, today we're going to chat about Walmart a lot. And can you share with the audience, what's the difference? David and I, we've done a lot of shows. We've sold on lots of different platforms, and Etsy and eBay and all these other platforms. So what makes Walmart different than those, and why should people really pay attention?
So Walmart is not accepting everyone. So I think that's the first point is, they want brand owners or basically established brands. So if you're, there are some drop shippers that have kind of made it onto Walmart. They've actually been trying to get rid of drop shippers, and they really want brand owners on Walmart. So that's an important factor. So they want to see that you have a nice brand on other platforms, that you provide really high levels of customer service, that you can do fast fulfillment. So you really have to have everything in place. Whereas, Amazon, Etsy, eBay, you can really start as a newbie, which is, I think, really cool on those. But once you've established yourself on those platforms, then it's a good time to start moving over to Walmart because there's a bit more exclusivity there. They want brands. And at the same time, there's less competition right now. So it's kind of like Amazon was, 6-7 years ago when you could put a listing up and start getting sales. So those are the main differences I would see.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, I live in small town Missouri, and of course we have a Walmart. And when I think of what types of products are at Walmart, one, they tend to have everything. If you need some odd thing, it's usually at Walmart. And I would also say that they have a reputation of being the low cost provider. And so in terms of assessing brand fit, if you're selling products that you may not envision being at a Walmart store, would Walmart still be a good fit for you? Or what would be the difference between brick and mortar and online?
That's actually a really good question, because that's the main reason I didn't want to go into Walmart is like, my product's premium, it's way better. But the online customer profile is a bit different than the in-store shoppers. So you are actually going to see a lot more high quality products on the online marketplace, especially with the move of a lot of third-party sellers into the marketplace. So there's definitely, they're trying to increase their customer base with, incentivizing, joining the Walmart Plus program, which is like Prime. But you will see high quality, even like clothing stuff. I used to never buy stuff from Walmart, but I was actually searching and found some really nice, high quality women's apparel that you can find similar stuff on Amazon. So it's moving over, and people are starting to notice Walmart and starting to buy things. I've noticed influencers recently saying, doing, they usually model like things they got off of Amazon, but they're also incorporating Walmart now for apparel. So you can see a lot of that is changing in regards to the online marketplace. So, my product is priced a bit higher than others, and I'm still selling on. There is demand still on there for more premium products, even from Walmart. So,
yeah, no, that's a really interesting point. Yeah, it may or may not be a good fit for if you're Gucci, maybe not a good fit on Gucci, on Walmart. But if you have like anything standard, or what David said, like oddball items that you can find, now that's cool. So let's cover a little bit about what's different. So a lot of, Walmart is a fairly new sales channel, right? For online sellers, are kind of exclusive and ramping up, letting more sellers come in. Like you said, they want brand owners. And so what are some of the differences? Like someone's listening and say, hey, maybe I should check out this Walmart. What are some of the differences if they sell on Amazon versus selling on Walmart?
One of the big ones that I love is the PPC costs are much lower. So I don't even manage the PPC for our Amazon business. We have actually, PPC experts doing that for us. But I am actually managing the Walmart PPC myself, and I'm seeing just a really low cost per click for keywords that are really competitive on Amazon. So there's just a lot of opportunity there for it's kind of like Amazon was a while ago. So that's a big, I forgot the main question. I was just rambling.
No worries. So what are some of the differences between, selling on Amazon's marketplace versus Walmart's, like listing optimization, photos, things like that?
Okay. So we've got the PPC stuff. It's actually really basic though. I will say it's, you can't do negative targeting. There's no video ads or things like that, unless there's some brands can do some bigger kind of banner ads and things like that, but it's very, very basic PPC. So keep that in mind, but you can, get some good traction on some of these big keywords. And in terms of the actual listing itself, if you are an Amazon seller, you're going to have an easy time just assimilating to Walmart, because you already know how to create really good content. You already know how to create good images and kind of creating a story for your product in the images. So really you just have to, convert it over to the format for Walmart. So, that means the description and the bullets are different. A lot of people, you can actually tell when somebody just copied and pasted their Amazon listing over, and Walmart doesn't like that. They want you to format the title a little bit differently. There's guidelines on how you need to do your key features, is what the bullets are, your key features and your description. So they also don't like keyword stuffing. So a lot of Amazon sellers still do this, where they just stuff the title with a lot of keywords, and Walmart does not reward that. So the better that you follow their guidelines for their listing quality score, which they have, the better you're going to do in terms of rank. So the listing quality score has to do with content. So how you write your title, make sure that you have all the information they want in the title, in the description, and the bullet points. There's also fulfillment. So quick fulfillment is what they really prioritize. So if you get into their Walmart fulfillment services, or WFS, which is kind of like their Prime, Amazon's Prime delivery, then that's going to speed up your fulfillment, and they actually prioritize that. That helps with your ranking. And also reviews are also incorporated into that. Reviews are really quite simple if you have a Shopify account, this is one of the coolest things. You can literally syndicate your reviews over from your Shopify account. So basically you just apply to this program through Walmart syndication, and then you get contacted. It takes them a few weeks to contact you back, but then you basically upload a spreadsheet with your reviews on it, and then they put it on your Walmart listing, and it'll even say syndicated from your website. So you've got your website even on the reviews written on there. So really good. I don't know, those are kind of some of the differences. I'm trying to think of some more. Oh, there's also A+ content is a little bit different on Walmart. So they do have A+ content. but it's called Rich Media, and you actually have to pay for it. So on Amazon, you can get that for free, right? So you get a free, you can upload it for free, no cost. But on Rich Media, per module, like if you do a video, you pay for that. You pay for the hosting for, any kind of infographics or anything like that. But the Rich Media, I think for Walmart is actually really cool and even better than Amazon. So I will say that's a difference. But again, you have to pay per SKU, per module. So it can really get expensive there, and, paying for that hosting. And there's different third parties that allow you to host that Rich Media in there. So those are some differences. Hopefully I encompassed all of them.
Yeah,
Sure.
There is a lot there. There's 3 specific things I want to revisit. The first is Rich Media. So what has been your experience with this? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Does your conversion rate go up enough to justify the cost?
So I don't know if you saw this, but they actually had Rich Media down for probably almost a year. They actually had it going, and there was a lot of data that showed that there was some conversion increases with the Rich Media, but then they took it down, and you could only do the description and the key features. So they just recently re-implemented it, where you can do video and the rich content with the infographic or kind of comparison charts. You can do different infographics with videos, a lot of really cool stuff. So we still have to kind of test more on how much it's going to increase the conversion. So I think the jury's still out, but I do think that, the better you can enhance your listing, the more sales you're going to get, just because the prettier you make it, it makes it more attractive to people. But I think, because they're just rolling out the modules again now, I think we'll have to kind of revisit that and do some more testing. But if we look at the results that we get from Amazon, we can probably transfer that over to Walmart and say, yeah, it does help with conversion. Now, in terms of how much, that's a question. You'd have to pay itself off, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. Point number 2, I wanted to revisit. We were talking about importing reviews from Shopify. I remember when I set up a Shopify store once, there was a plugin that you could import reviews from Amazon.
Yeah.
And we've got, a lot of our listeners probably have some Amazon products that have a moat of reviews, 4,000 or 5,000. Can you go from Amazon to Shopify to Walmart?
I actually think you can. I personally didn't. So I didn't have that many reviews necessarily on my Shopify site, but I put those reviews from my Shopify verified onto the spreadsheet. But I think you just have to be careful, because a lot of times it'll say, especially if you're bulk importing, right? Because it'll say Amazon customer, or it'll mention Amazon in the review. So if that happens, you can get into a lot of trouble if they see that. So once you get kicked off of Walmart, it's just like, if you get kicked off, it's going to be hard for you to get back on. And so I would recommend just getting some reviews on your site. You can even have your friends, order the product from your site and have put reviews up there that are verified. Because it's just not worth the risk, really, in my opinion. However, there are sellers who do it, so I'm sure they'll crack down on it more. But again, when you have these big sellers, there's thousands of reviews you're importing. You don't really look at the details of, what the names are, and whether or not you want to do that, I think is up to you. But personally, I don't want to get kicked off the platform. So
that makes sense. That makes sense.
So even I have products that don't even have reviews, and I sell a lot of product on Walmart. So I don't even think they're as important as maybe Amazon. So that's something to also keep in mind. So even if you have 5, 10, 20 reviews, you're going to be ahead of most competitors at this point. And so you don't have to worry about quantity, you want quality. And that's what I would say on that.
That makes sense. And then third point I wanted to revisit, and then I'm going to kick it back over to Ken. You were talking about running PPC for Walmart, and you had mentioned that PPC tends to be cheaper on a cost per click basis. We have seen that, but very moderately. In the categories that we're selling, it seems like CPC is like 5 to 10% less.
Okay.
But I've heard examples of people that are like much less. And so it makes me think, is our Walmart strategy effective, or are we in the minor leagues and we need to get to the major leagues? And so are there, one thing about their PPC is that bidding system, it's changed 3 times since we've been on the platform. Yep. And so if someone is listening and they want to get to the major league PPC on Walmart. Any pro tips?
Well, there is, there are softwares that you can use that might bring you to the next level. Like I use PackView to help manage my PPC, which helps you to see better. It's much easier to see the reporting and your conversion on different keywords because it's a lot more manual work if you just do it through the Walmart Connect platform. I don't know if you guys have noticed that kind of finding, where you're converting, and it's just kind of a more difficult challenge. So maybe using a tool, I think, would help. I stopped using the auto campaigns too because they were wasting a ton of my money, and I just used Helium10 to do exact searches, and I've been doing exact campaigns, and then the successful ones I moved to broad and phrase match as well with those same keywords. So I don't know if you guys are losing out, but you probably, something you might consider as well is just like, have you filled in all of your attributes on your actual listing? That could be something that you could get more exposure by just filling those out. And are you in the right product type? I don't know if you noticed, you can't really, if you're in the wrong product type, you can't really advertise on certain keywords. So I don't know if you've seen that happening. Maybe you need to do some split testing and choose a different product type for a little while and see, based on what your competitors have, whether or not that product type is going to be better for your PPC too. There's things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I found a lot of the keywords that are even longer tail now are converting more than they were before they changed everything, because they're focused more on relevancy. So I think that's going to change a lot more, so that you can actually capitalize on some of the longer tail keywords now. Because before it was like you really only did the general, and that's pretty much where people search, is just these general keywords, and then they kind of filter down. So I think there are obviously some products like, vitamin C or things like that you're going to have a higher cost per click. But I think in comparison to Amazon, you're definitely going to see a lot less even still with some of those. So you might be kind of in the, I don't know if you're just in an unlucky product group, but those are kinds of things I've been thinking about, just like product type, split testing and doing just things like that, where you can see if that has any effect on it. Also, I mean, if you're at the top for some keywords, if you've ranked, maybe see if turning off those keywords, if it affects anything, and if you can still do some conversion, get some conversions up there, because you can rank pretty easily in comparison to Amazon. So that might be, you could be cannibalizing your own organic ranks there too. Hopefully that was
there's a lot there. I'm taking it all in. I have follow-up questions, but I don't want to nerd out on PPC for too long. So I'm going to kick it over to Ken.
Awesome. Yeah. So kind of staying on that. No, really good tips here, Carrie. Yeah, and I've got some notes down here too. So staying on this keywords theme, for the listeners who are selling on Amazon, they're wanting to switch over to Walmart. Are the keywords the same? Like coffin lamp, would it be the same? Like use same search volume on Amazon than as Walmart? And then the second piece of this question is, Helium10 has some tools to help everyone out with those. Can you describe kind of that?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So that kind of answers both questions. If you actually use Cerebro, which is our reverse product ID tool, where you can basically see, keywords where your competitors are indexing for, and just, you can get the search volume. We actually put side by side the search volume of Walmart right next to Amazon. So you can see that on Magnet and Cerebro. Whenever you do any searches, you'll see them side by side, and you will notice a lot lower search volume on Walmart. However, that doesn't necessarily mean there isn't any demand for those products. They use a lot of filters on Walmart. So the Walmart shoppers just have a different kind of way of finding products. And a lot of, like, for example, when you go and you search, say you search a shoe organizer or something like that, they're going to filter for different things. Like reduced is a big one. So if you put the reduced tag, you're going to be more visible because you put that reduced tag. Now, is your price really reduced? It doesn't necessarily have to be. It could be, you price it higher and you put it as reduced because people want to feel like they have a deal, so some of these shoppers still do want to feel like they have the deal. I've seen the reduced tag work, a little bit better, but they are looking, filtering by color. So making sure that you have all those different colors in there, so that when you're filtering down, like you're still showing up for some of these colors. So I think just realizing that these shoppers search a little bit differently than Amazon. Amazon, they'll do like exact, like, long tail keywords like coffin shelf with, soft handle and big strap, like they're looking for these big, longer tail keywords, whereas that's not the same thing as Walmart. That's why the attributes are so important, because that'll help you to show up on these filters when they're filtering down. So search volume is important, but it's not necessarily equating to how many people are going to see your listing, if that makes sense.
So continuing on this conversation about keywords, in my experience, there's been like two primary ways to get keywords. One would be run an auto campaign and see what ones you convert for. And then the second would be using a tool. So it could be reverse ASIN lookup. You could have your seed keywords. But those are kind of the two primary things. When you were talking about PPC, you said something, and I want to make sure I understood this correctly. You said, I've turned off my auto campaigns and I go to Helium10 and I'm taking those and putting them in manuals.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we find these keywords? Like, what's the most efficient way to find the keywords? Because it's kind of like the classic technique, run autos, farm keywords, see what converts. But is there a better way?
Yeah. So, well, there are some suggestions, I think, like in PackView, they do use some good data to like give you some suggestions. So there is that, like if you have a PPC tool that way. But in terms of Helium10, I do this similar, like I'll do the reverse product ID search for my competitors, and I'll find keywords, and then I'll kind of go down rabbit holes and I do a lot of keyword research. I'll look at all kind of similar types of products that I could potentially rank for. I'll go to Magnet to find similar, you put in one keyword and you'll get a bunch of similar types of keywords. So that's been more efficient. I've also been noticing within the Helium10 tools, there's a lot of Spanish words. So we don't have a filter yet for, filtering out those Spanish words, but that I did notice when I did have an auto campaign going that I was actually converting for those Spanish words quite more than I expected. So that's something that you shouldn't ignore on Walmart. I'm not sure what the demographics are for sure for like the Spanish speaking population, but it does seem like something that maybe a lot of sellers are not capitalizing on right now. So you will see the Spanish keywords within the Helium10 tools. And if you know a little Spanish, you can know for sure which ones are more relevant, or you can just look them up. So yeah, the Helium10 tool has really been what I utilize to find those, because I was finding that the auto campaigns were way off for a while. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen that, but like not even in the ballpark. And I was like, this is not what I want. So until they get that more dialed in, I'm not going to use the auto campaigns. I'm using Helium10 and some of the kind of suggested keywords in PackView that they recommend. So cool. Hopefully that answered your question, but yeah, I think those Spanish keywords are going to be like, those could be gold for a lot of sellers.
Where do you pull the, this information out of Helium10? What do you generally start your bids at? I start them lower, and then in PackView, you can increase them based on whether or not you get impressions. So, if I'm not getting impressions, I'll increase them 10 cents, but I start at the lowest and then just keep going from there to see. Cause before that, man, I was wasting so much money bidding like $1 on something that was 35 cents. So it's definitely improved quite a bit, because I can just incrementally increase them and see, where the pricing is instead of just way overpaying. So I have seen my costs go down because of that, which I'm really appreciative of that change with the PPC is the second price auction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely we've seen the auto campaigns, or, Walmart's, they're getting better. I'm not going to knock them. They're getting better month over month. We see lots of improvements, but the auto campaigns are super clunky, not being able to negate, IDs or and we've seen some stuff coming through some of the data coming through where they're showing it for random stuff. And, but yeah, they're still working, they're improving. So next question I've got is, David likes to refer this as the golden ticket, which like, what is it? Charlie and Chocolate Factory, right?
Yep.
And so, David, you want this one?
Yeah. So I've heard, and I don't know of anybody, but I've heard of people that sell on Walmart.com. They get a phone call one day and say, "Hey, do you want to sell your product in 10,000 stores here in the U.S. as part of Walmart brick and mortar?" That is exciting to me. That's very exciting to me. And so curious, have you heard of this happening to anybody? And do you have any pro tips on how to stand out on Walmart.com to better position yourself to get that golden ticket?
That's a really good question. So it's funny, before I even started selling on Walmart.com, we were trying to do some retail. And so we were, cold calling kind of, and they basically told us, we won't accept you until you prove yourself on the online marketplace. So for anyone who's hoping to get into Walmart without going onto Walmart.com, you're really not going to get there. So things that you can do to stand out is, they're looking really on sales volume. That's a main thing for those people who get that golden ticket call. But for open call that they just had, you had an ability, and it was actually in June. You could apply to go basically showcase your product in front of the buyers. Now, the main qualification that they had was they wanted it to be made in the USA. So if you have products that are made in the USA, you're going to have a one-up on a lot of people going forward, I think, because that was their main kind of criteria for even being able to apply for open call. So for anyone out there that's, made in the USA, that's a really good thing for you. Now, some people kind of got around it because they were like, oh, we assemble it in the USA. Maybe they put the packaging together in the USA. They kind of got around it different ways. But, obviously, if you have really high sales volume, you're probably going to get a good, nice golden ticket, right? That's going to be an easier in. You'll probably have an account manager because you have higher sales. So you'll have a lot more connection with Walmart. But again, those made in the USA products, if you have that, very, very good potential, which I think is exciting, just promoting those USA brands. So, but yeah, I do actually know somebody who is in there. Was that the other part of your question?
Yeah. Do they drive a Lamborghini now?
Actually, yeah. I mean, if you guys have watched, we have a freedom ticket Walmart in our Helium10. It's like just a course I do with Michael Labar and David Milstein, and they are very big sellers, and they also have a Walmart agency. And so, yeah, they're definitely living large, but Michael just got some products into the stores recently, after this last open call. So very exciting there. I do know some others who went to open call, but I haven't heard if they've gotten their products in. So I guess they're still kind of waiting to hear on that, but yeah, it's pretty cool and pretty exciting. And I mean, Michael's like 23 or 24 or something. So, you can do this if you're out there, know.
That's exciting. That's super motivated too. Oh wait, I'm getting a phone call. Hold on. Oh wait. No, wrong
golden
number.
Ticket?
There was no golden ticket. So anyway, next question I have is, it's a little bit deeper or higher level. So if someone and it's more or less like structure on selling on Walmart and how to like set up listings and really market better. And so it's because it's a little bit different. It's a lot different than Amazon. So let's use an example of coffin shelf. We have coffin shelf product. We have it in 3 sizes and small, medium, and large, in 3 colors, right? And so on Walmart, the first one you enter is going to be your lead, your main one, and that is the one that you run ads to. And so as you're building out these listings, do you have advice for our listeners on like making sure you maybe use your alpha, or you kind of build those out properly, because otherwise you can't go back and change those that I know of?
Well, what I kind of did is so I have some apparel products. Obviously I have to keep those in a variation. So what I did on those is I put the different colors in different variations, and then just had the sizing as the variation, so that I can take up more real estate. So I can advertise all of those colors instead of just the one color with the parent basically listing, or the kind of like the base image or base listing that they talk about. So I kind of utilize that strategy because I learned that from Michael, from his kind of strategies. It's just as real estate, when it comes to advertising, or even just Amazon, the more you can take up, the better you're going to do. So I have another product that I could very easily put it into a variation, but I didn't. I just kept it all separate, and kind of like coffin shelf. That would be a perfect example. You don't have to have that in a variation. You can put the black one, the purple one, and the pink one all separately, so that you can take up all the advertising space. You can take up organic rank. And you're going to, especially if you're getting in early, you're going to be able to kind of dominate that those keywords that you want to dominate for. So other people, they do put the variations all together, but again, you can only advertise that one base. And you get to choose which one is kind of like the parent listing. So you get to choose. And so obviously your best selling color would probably be the one. If you did put them all in the same variation, you want to choose that best seller to do. But I kind of did it strategically. So you'll see on some of the keywords I'm bidding for, you can see like because there's a bunch of campaigns too in my PackView account. You can see it's kind of getting messy, to be honest. But when you see the keywords, you'll see my product across the top. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it makes sense. Taking a lot of real estate. It makes sense.
I want to summarize this real estate with an example just to make sure I have this right. So you've got, say, small, medium, large in blue, black, and green. So you would set up 3 parents with 3 children for each?
Yeah. So I have I do my one for blue, and I do a small, medium, large. That's one listing. And then I'll do a green, small, medium, large. That's another listing. And then, purple, small, medium, large, that's another listing, so that I can advertise all those colors. Otherwise, if you put them all in the same variation, you're only going to be able to choose the one base listing to showcase. So there's also color keywords, so purple t-shirt, you can't, if your base isn't purple, it's not going to stand out, right? So for me, that's the strategy I think is most effective, because I can take up more real estate, and I can really dial in on those keywords too for better conversion.
That's really interesting. I was kind of always of the Amazon mindset where you pile all your variations under one listing so you can have a bunch of reviews. That's really, but with the way PPC is structured, that makes sense. Wow. Okay. Well, the wheels are turning. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So final question before we get into the fire round. Helium10. We're huge fans of Helium10 in all of their tools. And so for somebody with a subscription to Helium10, if you're building a Walmart toolbox, what tools are you using? How are you using them? So on and so forth. What strategy would you build around Walmart specifically as it relates to Helium10?
So we have X-Ray for Walmart, so you can utilize that to see sales volumes. We actually have Amazon data in there right next to Walmart data, so you can see, kind of the comparison if we have the ability to connect it. So you can see sales revenue, sale units sold. You can see reviews, review averages, review count, just like you can on the X-Ray for Amazon. Something else that I like is we have kind of a listing quality score estimate. Now it's not exact, but it's actually pretty close to what your actual listing quality score is. So you can take a look at your competitor's listing quality score estimate, and you can see, okay, they're failing because they're not even in WFS, or they have terrible images, or, their images aren't up to snuff, and their listing copy isn't great. So you can actually see, the areas of opportunity with just that listing, the listing quality portion on there. So X-Ray is really, really helpful for that. And then we also have Cerebro and Magnet for the keyword research. I write those keywords into my listing, and I don't do a ton of long tail keywords, but I do the basic main ones that I really want to focus on. And then I also use it for, my pay-per-click advertising. Going back to X-Ray though, something that I think is key too, if you're looking at competitiveness, so say you're trying to say which products from Amazon should I move over first, or you can look at the percentage of WFS products. And if there's a high number of WFS, you're going to know that's more competitive, because, ranking is really, even Walmart has said that they're really emphasizing using WFS or Walmart fulfillment services. So if you get into that, you get some ranking juice. So that's another key element that I forgot to mention on X-Ray. So those are all kind of key components. Cerebro Magnet, again, for those keywords, for your PPC, for your listing, really all very important. We also have a keyword tracker. So keyword tracker, you can track up to 250 keywords. You can see the search volume in there. And now you can see organic and sponsored rank at the same time. Now, before, when you could only, I don't know if you remember this, but on Walmart, you could only see either your sponsored or your organic rank. And then they changed that whole thing. So now you can see in keyword tracker, your sponsored and your organic rank without having to turn off your PPC to see where you're at organically. So you can keep track of all of that. And you can also do boosts. So you can track it every hour if you wanted to. You can track competitors and see where they're ranking. So keyword tracker. And we also have profits, which is going to give you an easy overview of your profitability on Walmart. So you don't have to, go to your accountant every time. You can kind of see a breakdown of your products. You can see maybe which ones are winners or losers or where you might need to improve. So all of these are really helpful. And we don't have black box currently for, finding new products on Walmart, but it doesn't mean you can't use the black box for Amazon and then go over to Walmart and use X-ray to determine if it's a good product. That's kind of my strategy, is just, okay, if it has demand on Amazon, I'm certain that it's going to have demand on Walmart. I mean, even, brand registry keywords, you can go and check and see what, what's going on Walmart with those. Do they even sell this product on Walmart yet? You could be kind of, one of the first ones to sell on Walmart. So there's a lot of really good things that you can kind of think outside the box. And it's kind of like the Wild Wild West in a way, but then, it's exciting. So lots of opportunity.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Very nice. Before we get the fire round, it's not every day that we get to talk to somebody from Helium10. And if it's all right with you, we love Helium10 tools, and we came up with a wish list of things that we would love to see. And I'd love to share those with you.
Yeah, pen and paper.
Very briefly. So would love to see Refund Genie on Walmart. Would love to that. Yeah. Big fan of that tool on Walmart. And I know WFS messes up because we found some on our own. So it makes me wonder, what are we missing? Split testing for price on both Amazon and Walmart. And I don't know, it would be awesome to link up to Atomic to measure your PPC, and then link up to profits so you can measure parent level profitability, and also link up to conversion rate and BSR. That's all my wish list is very specific.
That's really good.
But anyway, those are, like I said, it's for those of you who are unfamiliar with Helium10, go check them out, and we'll leave a link to the show notes for you to check that out. But yeah, that's our wish list.
Good. Yeah,
awesome.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that is a good point about the Refund Genie, because everyone should be keeping good track of your inventory and everything, because there are some mistakes. So you definitely want to keep track of all that as much as you can, even without a tool. But that's something that I'll definitely take back to them, because it's important and definitely an issue right now.
Well,
awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me air that. So
yeah.
All right, Ken, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Carrie, for every show we do a fire round. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book is The Count of Monte Cristo. I love that story. I also love the movie too. So both of my favorites.
Awesome.
I know it's not a self-help book, but there's a lot of elements of life and just, overcoming obstacles and, not letting difficulties hold you back for your future. So a lot of good self-help within the story, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, too many self-help books, you just go off in one direction. So it might be time to level set, right? So yeah, that's awesome. What are your hobbies? I
have quite a few. I really like line dancing. That's one of my favorites, but I love rollerblading, hiking. I live, in Southern California, so we've got a lot of good hiking trails, and going to the beach. I really like to travel. Scuba diving I've been scuba diving since I was 13. So been a lot of cool places doing that. So yeah, those are kind of my main. Oh, I like cooking too. So it's another one.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're busy. That's cool. Well, cool. So what is one thing that you do not miss about working for the man?
The cubicle. I cannot tell you how much I hated being chained to a cubicle. But I mean, I was also a teacher for 5 years. So I was a teacher and I felt like kind of in prison. And so that's kind of how I remember, just because you can't leave. Like you can't, I need to go to the bathroom. Like you have 3 hours so you can go out and just be a normal human. So it's just like a really challenging thing. But, like just being in a cubicle, I remember thinking, like, I think it was probably a little over 10 years ago. I was like, I'm going to work from home, or I'm going to get out of this, because I cannot do this forever. Like it was, did you guys work in cubicles?
Yes.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
a prison.
Yeah, it is.
I did 5 years.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean,
I
it's
did 5
painful.
years.
I did a 5-year sentence.
Yeah. So that was like something I thought about all the time was like, how do I get out of this? And I was always looking for something like, how do I get out of this cubicle? Because it is just not only that, like your manager is like watching you, like, just, critiquing you. You make us, I did sales like, oh, you should have said this. It's like, yeah, I should have, could have, would have, but that's just, okay, just moving on, like a lot of just like constant struggles in the cubicle. So I don't miss the cubicle. So hopefully that was enough emphasis on the pain of the cubicle.
I think, I don't know how many people we've interviewed on the show, probably close to 100. And I think that's probably the number one is like just being like locked down in that cubicle. So definitely agree. All right, last one. What do you think sets apart successful e-commerce entrepreneurs from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
I think that like I've talked to a lot of big sellers and there are challenges always. Like there's big failures and they just keep going. And I'm really lucky because I work with my dad. And so I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. But he is one of those people who will sit down and like, how do we work through this challenge? How do we, make this an opportunity kind of thing? So I think that's what really sets you apart, because if you let every single failure derail you, you're not going to, do well. I think a lot of the most successful people turn those failures into a new opportunity. And some of the sellers I've even talked to, they failed on their first like 4 products. They had a lot of reasons to quit, but they kept going and then ended up being multi-million-dollar sellers. So, I think really that does it's the mindset and just the ability to work through issues and not let your emotions take over, and just, doing the best you can to work through things that come up. Because there's a lot that happens. There's a lot that changes, that just from being in the business from 2016 to now, things have changed so much. So, you could let that frustrate you. It's like, well, it's not as easy as it used to be. I don't want to do this anymore. Well, that's what sets apart from people. Or even just like, for example, getting on Walmart. It's kind of challenging getting onto the platform, right? Well, that's going to separate the people who are going to get on it and those who aren't, because the ones who give up, they're giving up that opportunity and that ability to get in there when you can literally get at the top of the search and really capitalize on a low competition market. So hopefully that.
So true. Yep, absolutely. David, you want to close out the show?
Absolutely. What would be the best way for our audience to get in touch with you or Helium10?
So I actually have this Facebook group called Helium10 Winning with Walmart. And in that group is where I'll answer questions about Walmart. And I go live every Wednesday and I ask questions that you can submit them to me, or you can just ask them live. So I'm there to support with Walmart. So I think that's probably the best way to find me is just in that Walmart group on Facebook. So I hope a lot of people join and ask lots of good questions so we can all get better.
Absolutely. Well, want to thank you so much for being a guest on the Firing the Man podcast, and would definitely like to have you on again. I feel like on some of these topics, we just scratched the surface and really enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. I had a lot of fun, and I would love to come back and just dive in, because there is a lot more to some of these things that we discussed. So thanks again for having me.